Hey everyone, The Accountant 2, starring Ben Affleck and Jon Bernthal, picks up about 8 years after the 2016 film, with Christian and Braxton Wolff reunited in a story that is both action-packed and at times surprisingly funny. So, is this sequel worth the price of a movie ticket, or should you skip it? Let's get into that. The story really starts with the murder of Ray King during a meeting with Anaïs, this assassin that he reached out to for help to track down this missing family. And things go sideways and King dies. Then Marybeth Medina, now the director at the Treasury, gets the call that her former boss, who is King, and her mentor is dead. And when she goes to investigate, she realizes that Christian Wolff is somehow involved. This sets off a series of events that brings Anaïs and Christian's brother Braxton also into the picture, escalating all that action and all that tension as the four of them find themselves just drawn into this conflict together, as well as against this unknown group of criminals that are involved in human trafficking. So while Christian Wolff is still this brilliant neurodivergent math genius with a gift for solving these complex puzzles and fighting skills that kind of turn him into this highly effective killing machine, Ben Affleck plays him in a much more nuanced way than in the first film. The same is true of Jon Bernthal, who plays his hitman brother Braxton. They both feel like they have grown as actors and that the script was kind of tailored to their different talents on screen. And Ben is a little more awkward and Jon is a little funnier, and they both kind of gel with their characters and with each other, which is really nice. There's some fun action in this film for sure, but what really makes The Accountant 2 so satisfying is the rhythm of the film. The tension it builds, the action hits hard, and then the story just kind of gives you a moment to breathe and process before taking off again. It's in those little moments of taking a breath between action scenes that the movie really made it for me, because that's when the relationship between the two brothers, Chris and Braxton, rises. And we see these two middle-aged men who really have no one else in their lives, who are also trying to find a human connection. And it's these moments that are so funny and so awkward. And while also being a bit biting and emotional, but it's the chemistry between the two guys that carry this movie. When they are on screen together is when I found myself most enjoying the film. It really is a family film for older men who are struggling to connect with each other. And I kind of loved that. There's also this strong puzzle solving element to the story that shows us multiple times just how fast Christian is at kind of pulling together data and then arriving at a conclusion. We see it in enough instances, and it really kind of underscores just how good he is at this. And we end up trusting him because the filmmakers really gave us that kind of underpinning that allows us to move forward with the story. So when he says things that we kind of don't understand or didn't follow along with, when he says things, there's this inherent trust in what he said is real, is right. And so while we might be thinking to ourselves, how did we get here? The film really set that up. We understand Chris's unique abilities, and they got us to trust him really early in the story. And it's easy to just kind of roll with it because it never really lingers in any one place too long. The pacing and the chemistry and the cast, they really solve some of those bigger logic issues that might normally cause issues in a film like this. What I wasn't expecting with this film was that it would be a really good example of performance-driven storytelling, which is something I didn't think I would be thinking or saying when I walked into the theater. The writing was strong, and it took a little time to develop each character with an introduction that clearly told us who each person was and where they were in their lives, as well as something a little emotional about them. The result was a story that built trust between us and the characters. And they did it right up front because we could tell that it knew where it was going, even when we didn't. Christian's speed dating scene, I have to say, it was awkward and it was funny and it was strangely endearing. And it kind of tells us everything that we need to know about his character, from his brilliance to his social struggles and his vulnerability as a man. We see Braxton sitting at a table with a woman who is clearly upset. The phone, it rings and he's annoyed because it's Christian who he's been trying to reach, but who just has been elusive. But there's also an eagerness to how he answers the call. And at that moment, it just kind of says everything about his character. Anaïs and King, they meet up in a bingo hall and they're doing this cat and mouse game before a group of thugs come and try to off them. And we get a sense of their motivations and their talents, as well as the fact that they are connected by a mystery. In her office at the Treasury, Marybeth Medina is annoyed by her office chair. And honestly, who isn't annoyed by their office chair at some point? It's just not right. And she's clearly upset that she just can't find a chair that makes her feel comfortable in her role. And then she gets that call that King has died, and her demeanor, it just changes. And we get a sense of like she's shifting into gear. She is on it. And all of these introductions just telescope out to the character beats that get developed throughout the film, and they tie their personal endpoints within the story. And it's beautifully done. The strongest part of the account, too, is the brotherly dynamic between Christian and Braxton. The tension, the awkwardness, the loyalty, it's all there. Some of the best scenes are the two of them together and they're talking and trying to do things to help each other. And there's this bar scene where Christian, in his own weird way, tries to set up something fun for his brother, who's been a little tense and unhappy, let's just say. This act of trying to do something nice for Braxton is as funny as it is awkward and perfect for their relationship. It's just one example of how they each are trying to connect with each other, though not in the way that any kind of regular person might do. Somehow, though, they make it all work and they make it feel right and normal for them. The action, it rises and falls with their rhythm. It's not just about the gunfights or solving the mystery that brought them together. It's also about how they move around each other in coordination with one another. It's about how they argue and how they sit in silence. You could remove half the plot and still have something worth watching just by following how they communicate with each other. Because The Accountant 2, it is a buddy action film about two brothers learning how to reconnect as adults. That emotional core is what gives the story its weight. The film, it just leans into the morally complex characters. These aren't clean-cut heroes. They live in the shadows. They make questionable decisions, and they cross the line all the time. But still, they're human, and they care about each other, never compromising who they are as individuals or as brothers. And the same is true of how the film handles Meredith Medina. Clearly, she is in the hero category, but she kind of skates along the edges of darkness with the brothers, while Anaïs, who's clearly in the villain category, kind of skates along the edges of goodness with her choices. And it kind of reminded me of Daredevil, perhaps, maybe because Jon Bernthal is in both. And this just made me think about how Marvel often inverts its heroes and villains, just washing them in that gray and somewhat sketchy character building that they do that dissolves the line between hero and villain. And both franchises are really reintroducing known characters, and they drop them both into new messy conflicts. However, with The Accountant 2, we see what it's like when the film trusts the characters and lets them be who they are at their core. It doesn't shove them into moral grayness for effect. The complexity comes from their choices, which all feel natural and smooth. That respect makes all the difference. So, is The Accountant 2 worth the price of the ticket? Well, I gotta say, it's better than the first film, which I didn't really like that much. And I really enjoyed it overall. It's a tight, smart, great action film with strong writing and good pacing and characters you actually kind of can, like care about. The chemistry between Affleck and Bernthal, like it is the reason to watch this film. Seeing the two of them together is great. And the flaws, I honestly didn't care about them. Every film has flaws, and you could sit here and nitpick them all. But in the end, you got to think about like, how did I feel when I walked out of the theater? And with The Accountant 2, the positives just far outweighed any negatives. This isn't a movie that's going to win a bunch of awards. It's just there to entertain you, and it does. So, yeah, I totally think this ticket is ticket worthy, and I think it's worth a trip to the theater. And I'd even say it's worth the added cost of some popcorn. So, gotta ask, have you seen Accountant 2? Are you planning to? I'd love to hear what you think. And thanks everybody for watching. And please do leave a comment and let me know what you think of Ben and John in this film. Also, while you're here, why not give the review a thumbs up, subscribe, and share with a friend? Thanks so much, everybody. I really appreciate you. I hope you're having a great day, and I will talk to you down in the comments. And in the meantime, happy viewing. Bye for now.